Hey folks, Shigs here. Now, I've owned pretty much every system since the early 80s, except for maybe a ColecoVision, but honestly, I've never owned a Sega Master System, and that's a problem considering I'm report on Sega games, really. And I've owned like a Sega Master System converter way back in the day, but that was about as close as it gets. And finally, I went to Frankenstein's today. They had a Master System for $50, some games with it, so we're gonna check that out. Now, I know most people have a unboxing, so to speak, but we're not doing that. I have an unbagging because everything's in a used state there. All right, let's peek out of that bag here. Let me see. This is the actual Master System itself, and get a good look at that. You have to pause it on the console itself? Oh my god. I don't know what model this is, so I don't know what game is built inside that you use without a cartridge, so that's going to be interesting. That's going to be our little mystery game. Are you ready for a mystery game? One D-pad. Zapper, which I'll probably never use because I have this on an HD TV, and so there's no reflection, so you can't really use light gun games. One giant ass plug, which every Sega console has. Another D-pad. This was $49, by the way. And a joystick. That's pretty sweet. And then we have whatever is inside here. The mystery game. The Sega Master System will be coming at you in living mono, as there's only one audio cable. Crazy. Nope. Note that this is the same kind of 9-prong controller used in the Sega Genesis and in the Atari 2600. If you wanted to, you could actually use a Sega Genesis controller or a Master System controller here on a Atari 2600. Or you can... I don't know for sure if you can use a Genesis controller on a Master System or not, but who knows. Okay, I don't know if you can see this, but there's just... This thing is so large, I'm having a hard time finding room even with my computer disk, working with all my stuff. Hey, look everyone, actual quality sound. Now, where is that little game heading at? Well, all you have to do for any of these is just press up and A and B at the same time. Otherwise, you get this screen. Now the little snail maze thing here did not come out good at all on my screen. I'm recording this post-play here. The biggest problem was that if you look, you see that it's blue on top of light blue. And the vertical walls were completely invisible on my screen. Remember, I am using an HD TV with SD cables and SD format, and this is something that would be no problem on a boob tube, you know, old-fashioned, but on here it just did not come out, so I could not get across the maze because I could not see the maze. I actually kept having to look over my computer screen, which unfortunately when it records is 1 second behind, so I can't use that to play on. And frankly, this is kind of a boring game anyway. This is not something I would play often at all, and I'm really old school. I mean, I used to play Maze Craze on the 2600. Here we go, an arcade classic, Outrun. As far as games go, this one is not as good as others as far as 8-bit conversions go. I know this system is trying its best, but I get used to the polygonal, version on the Sega Classics collection, and Outrun 2, of course, on the Xbox 360. I mean, this one really can't compare to those ones. I mean, it does as good a job, I guess, as it can, but when you have those options, you're more than likely going to want to play those ones. So let's look at a little gameplay in action, shall we? Get out of this little title screen. And here's another Sega arcade classic, Space Harrier. One of my personal faves, a great little 3D shooter. They don't really do any of these with this kind of perspective. It's always on, 2D side to side. You never see a 3D perspective game like this. Graphically, it looks great. I think it's got almost has that 16-bit look to it. There's still a lack of detail, like clouds and such. But outside of that, it's looking pretty good. I did die a lot on this playthrough. I did play it a few extra times. Really enjoyed it. This is actually my favorite of the 3 games purchased. On this one, I also did try out the joystick controller that came with the system. It's okay. I mean, it feels awkward because you're using the controller in your right hand and pressing the buttons with your left, and that could take a little getting used to. But it does give it kind of an arcade feel, but you can't jam on the buttons fast enough, unfortunately, in that particular kind of mode. But outside of that, it's a pretty good little joystick, and Space Harrier, I'll definitely be coming back to this quite a few times. It's a classic. And last but certainly not least, we'll be looking at Lord of the Sword. Gotta love that name. Several thousand years after the downfall of the demon lord Ragon, Paljania was once more faced with great peril in a scheme to restore their master. The followers of Ragon had killed the rightful king as an evil sacrifice. Fear overran the towns of Paljania, and lawlessness ruled the land. Council of Elders, blah blah blah. First must pass 3 tests. 1, he must find the Tree of Merrill, the symbol of the royal family. 2, he must subdue the Goblin of Bala Valley. 3, he must destroy the Statue of Evil. Landu, a brave lad, resolved to attempt these feats for the land he loved and set off to find the Wizard of Aman. Okay. This one's not too bad. It's got kind of a Zelda 2 feel to it, and there's a little bit of a Shinobi feel as well. You've basically only got a few moves in the game, going from town to town, talking to the villagers, and between you're constantly fighting monsters. You're either swinging your sword at them or using your bow. You got sword and bow, and that's pretty much it. And look at this. I got this one freaking flying monster that just stands there. It just stands there perfectly still until you walk under it. Only then will it attempt to attack. Also, you gotta love the water, how there's these little creatures that jump out that are hidden, yet when you drop into the water, you go about a foot deep, or as deep as your knees, and that's about it. The game can be a little challenging at times, and some enemies are either easy to dodge or impossible, and you have to either fight them or sometimes you just have to get hit. The game does continue every time you die, and you'll just go right back to the original screen you were on. I'm hearing, though, that there's limited continues. Like, when I was playing the game, I continued about, 8 or 10 times and didn't have any problems, but apparently there are limited continues, and this game is very hard to complete. And your whereabouts are a little confusing, because as you'll see when you get to a town, there are little hills, and what I didn't realize is you can actually climb up those hills just by jumping up, because they look like stairs. They basically just look exactly like stairs. And you can bypass them easily, but that's part of the map, basically. Unfortunately, my copy did have all of its... In fact, all 3 of the games have their boxes and the instruction manuals with each one, and Lord of the Sword has a map that comes with that. It's not exactly the most handiest of maps, but it's something. It helps. And see here where I died. What's funny is when you die, you have a different colored clothing than when you start. You start with green clothing and you end up with friggin' white clothing when you did. I was wondering why I didn't continue here. It looks like I accidentally started new instead of continuing. So you know what? Let's go ahead and skip ahead a little bit, shall we? And here I am back in the game. A little older, a little wiser. As you can see here, there's some enemies that are much easier than others. I mean, I have a skeleton that has a shield and a sword, and you have to like hit him twice, and he's almost damages you every single time. But then there's this floating eye with tentacles that just slowly goes up to you, and you can just take him out with 2 arrows, no problem. Never been even touched by that one. Okay, this is gonna wrap this up. I do enjoy this Lore of the Sword a little bit. It's not too bad. Space Harrier is still the best, of course. The snail maze was pretty horrible. I really didn't care for that at all. Outrun's okay for for an 8-bit version of Outrun. It does decent. I am looking forward to trying some other games on the Master System. Maybe hooking it up on eBay. Maybe Frank and Son still has some more in their collection there. And hopefully we'll get some more videos into the Master System and other games sometime in the future. I like to, build up a little archive. And that's it for this look at the Master System. Kind of my first look at the Master System. Like I said, I had a converter. Didn't use it that often on the Genesis, and I played a few games on the Wii, but it's not the same as, of course, owning the actual console. Alright. Thanks for watching and putting up with my droll voice. Goodbye.